'em, sock 'em. But, but get this. Hey, Copper. Copper. Hey, Copper, come here. Look what I found. Well, are you scared? He goes running. He's scared of him.
Huh.
I don't get it.
I still remember when you used to dress up as the Wolf Man and make the dog pee.
I, I can't help it.
I've
Uh,
considered on like getting one myself just from those memories as a kid. Like, I bet you that'd be hilarious.
I did.
I,
It was
I,
Jimmy.
well, I'm thinking the kids too. I'm thinking like the windows to my kids' rooms are really easy to get to, and I'm just thinking at night, just like
Oh,
scratch on
I
the
just went
window.
to Topher. We had to live with Debbie Davis for a little while, and his bed was like close to a window, and you could actually walk around, and it was like right here, his window. I could stand right here and look in the window. I had a zombie mask. I walked by his window. It's just
I bet he got scared
scared him
to
after
death.
that. Oh my gosh! You gonna dress up for Halloween?
I don't know. I don't know. Halloween. I'm actually officiating a funeral the weekend of
Oh,
Halloween in Montana.
oh,
So we are leaving on Halloween, flying to
oh, that's sad.
Montana. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, good friends of ours. His mother passed away, and he asked me to do the funeral. And they're from Montana, but they live here. So yeah, it's cool. Cool, we're going. I've never been to Montana, so we're excited to go, but not
that's
necessarily for
cool.
that reason, you know. But
Yeah, we're talking about. You ever watch the Righteous Gemstones?
oh, I know what you're talking. I've never watched it, but I know the show. Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
talking about being baby Bobby Billy. He's the one that has the big high white hair
Oh,
and the big
nice.
flannel suit.
There you go. There you go.
I,
Yeah.
I, just get me a
Ah.
syndicated show of Baby Bobby Bunkers. Come on,
I
tell them all.
don't know what we're gonna
There's
do. I
gonna
mean,
be a payday, gonna payday. There's gonna be a payday.
gosh, I gotta watch that now
It's so funny. It's so inappropriate, but so funny.
because it's all about like an evangelical like TV show.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it is. And like his wife has got like these real jacked up teeth. He's like, baby, one day we're gonna get some money and I'm gonna get them teeth fixed. I'm gonna get you one of the prettiest teeth ever. And she finally gets teeth and they're like, I mean, they're like teeth, boy. They're I mean, they're like perfect picket white pence, boy.
Nice, pearly white,
Uh Pearly
pearly
white.
white.
Good night. Love that show.
Um,
Oh,
yeah, I just got
all
through
right.
watching Chad Powers. Have you seen that one yet? It's got
Chad Powers.
what's the actor's name? It's brand new. It's on Hulu and Disney. I think that's what it's called.
Hmm.
Yeah, Chad
I have to look.
Powers, and it's Glenn Powell. You know Glenn Powell. He was in
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah the new good looking guy that all the girls like. And
Okay, no, no, no.
I think they got it originally from what something. It's actually the Mannings is one of the producers, and I think
Okay.
they got the original idea because
Oh,
Eli,
the football one. It's the
yeah,
football one.
where he like
Yes.
was this superstar, in his
Yep.
normal self, and then he blows it, and so then he's like getting back into football. He's wearing a mask. Yeah, so
Yeah. Eli
yeah,
Eli Manning dressed up as Chad Powers and went
hours.
to yeah,
That's what
that's
it
right.
was. Yep, yep,
It's Eli.
yes.
Yep.
That was on. I think it was on Netflix or something like that. Was it was only one episode though. I was bummed. I was like, oh, I need to do more of
Oh,
these. It
yeah.
was hilarious.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I remember that. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I saw it the other day and I was like, oh, I need to watch that. Now there's some oh gosh, I was watching Colbert and who was on there? It was oh, what's his name on CNN? Silver hair. Um, Anderson Cooper.
Tripper.
And
Yeah.
Anderson Cooper recommended a mob show he watches on Prime.
Mm.
And I've got it saved in my my watch list. And like the first season is only like 4 episodes, and there's like a second season now. I'm like, I like mob shows. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
those are fun. Peaky
yeah.
Blinders. Is it Peaky Blinders?
No, it's
Or
not Peaky
that?
Blinders. Yeah, it starts with
No,
a
but that, but
G.
that, but that's kind of a mob show. It's a really good one too. Series. I haven't
Yeah,
seen all of them, but I've seen a few. So
yeah.
I heard I got to
Definitely watch
watch. I
it.
got somebody told me this week The Pit. I think it's only on HBO though.
The
Um,
Pit.
it's a medical one. Um,
Oh, Pit. Oh, we watched the whole thing. Oh my gosh, it is so good.
yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
she
From Pittsburgh Emergency Room.
yeah.
Yep.
So she's an OBGYN, and I was hanging out with them at their house this week.
Yeah.
Friends of mine in Arkansas, and we were just talking about. I mean, some topics came up like COVID, and but it was always
Yeah.
is I wanted to get her perspective. And so she
Yeah.
brought it, and she's like, "Have you seen The Pit?" And I was like, "No." She's like,
Oh my gosh.
it's probably like it's the closest thing that I've seen what it's really like." But she was telling me
Yeah,
these
it
horror
was fantastic.
stories of being an OBGYN in Houston and delivering babies, and she has a team, and she would be the one that would take the COVID mom and her
Mm,
team. She would go to the non COVID, but she's like, you're delivering a baby and the mom's just dies because of COVID, and it's just like,
dude.
what? Just like the horror stories. It was just like, oh, that's
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it fantastic series. And then we watched oh man, what was the other one we just got? Excuse me.
Task.
Task.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like 6 episodes. And Mark Ruffalo,
Mm.
and he plays FBI agent, and he's actually
Oh,
one that
okay.
does recruiting.
Oh,
But he
interesting.
gets pulled in to do an investigation, biker gang stuff. Dude,
Hmm.
excellent.
Okay.
And of course,
I'll have to look.
yeah, and of course, we're also watching that Sylvester Stallone series too, uh,
Oh, where he's the
where
mobster,
he's
like in the mobster in the Midwest or whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I
it's actually really good.
Yeah, I watched the first like 3 or 4 episodes of that one's too.
Yeah, oh, it's like season 3 now or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's good. All right, here we are, BroCode session 6, and we're going to talk about Christian nationalism. Boom, boom, boom. If you'll notice our shirts, so Wes and I do shirts for our birthdays, and so yeah, you know,
Well, it's been a
where
while
where
it's been a while since we've had our last show. Yeah, some things have
that's
happened since our last show. Somebody has a ring on his finger.
I did. I got married.
You gonna do the
I did.
dance? Put a ring on
I did. That's put a ring on it. And so I am wearing, in honor of Hulk Hogan. Wes got me the what you gonna what you gonna do?
Oh, do
I
brother.
got the Hulk Hogan one. What's
Yeah.
up, brother?
And I
And
have,
Wes is wearing his brother.
yeah, I have my brother's face all over me. Yeah, it was pretty funny because I wore it your wedding day, and literally like everybody in the Walmart when I went shopping was just asking questions and staring. I was like, I'm trying to make my brother famous. I took actually funny enough, I took it. I had a work trip and I went to Canada and I took it with me because I had this idea. I was like, I'm gonna take my brother to Canada. Like I'm just gonna take him with me and just do like photos. Where are you? I'm
I've
in
never been.
Vancouver.
That's great.
I'm at British Columbia, Vancouver, and I'm bringing my brother with me right here.
I've never been. Now I have. Thanks.
Yeah,
That's
you're
great.
welcome. Yeah, should have taken
And I
it to
also
Italy
brought.
with me.
I know, and I have one of my return wedding guests back behind me.
Yeah, Chewbacca.
Chewie's back there.
Yeah, you should have dressed him up for the wedding. Should have put like
Just put a bow tie on it.
bow tie on him. Should have put a bow tie on him.
Yeah, I know. I know. We should have had Karen come into the Star Wars theme. Imperial March.
Boom, boom,
Dun,
boom,
dun,
boom.
dun, 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 dun.
I'm sure she would have loved it.
She would have. She'd have gone along with it.
too funny.
Oh man.
But a
All
good wedding.
right.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a great wedding.
It was great. It was a great day. So great
So
day.
tough topic
Uh,
tonight. I mean, it's kind of I think it's a tough, but it's a kind of a necessary kind of we I think we talked in our last session. We talked about you and I are constantly kind of deconstructing, and we're both mentalists. We like to think and read and those kind of things, and I think this is kind of a good topic for these days anyway. And so when you think about Christian nationalism, what kind of comes to mind? I was thinking, I actually came across a scripture passage today. Um, and I know not everybody who watched our podcast, again, you may not be Christian, and that's okay. Um, but one of the passages that sort of stuck out to me was Mark 12:17. It says, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperors, and to God the things that are God's," which sort of ties into that separation of church and state kind of thing. It's like whatever belongs to the state, to the emperor, and that's sort of what Jesus was alluding to. Is like when he was looking at the money, he was like, "All right, so who's on it?" And he goes, "The emperor." And they're like, "Okay, well, so give unto the emperor what is emperor, but belongs to God, give to God."
yeah.
And so when we think about nationalism, Christian nationalism, especially these days, what kind of comes to mind? What kind of things do we need to walk through? What kind of things sort of stick out? And especially in light of what we're dealing with today,
Yeah.
especially the church.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, when you you threw this subject out there, my head just like dropped a little bit. I won't lie. It was like, really? We really want to discuss this subject? Um, Yeah, no, because it's a hard one, and there's a lot of people that could get offended or hurt by it.
Right.
So I think, like you said, I think the deconstruction is needed. I think that's some of it. Like we need to break these statements apart. Maybe that's what we do in this kind of session. Is like, okay, let's talk about Christian nationalism, but let's talk about first, like, what is nationalism?
Right.
And then what is
Right. Right.
Christianity, and kind of piece those, and what's the history of, the US and, Christianity and things, there's a lot there to, and I
There
love
is.
history. Going to Italy for a week and a half, a couple weeks ago with the family, like, I mean, I loved it from a history standpoint, one, because of church and like church history and going and experiencing that. But then I just learned so much. Like I learned so much more. Like there was things that I learned, and I'll get to where kind of Christian nationalism comes into to that because there was something that came from it. But I just learned so much from just like Mussolini, for example. Here I am, like going back to my school days. Like, oh, he was a horrible, and he killed a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, he was horrible.
Right.
But there were certain things I learned about Mussolini. I was like, he did what? And it was good stuff. I
Mhm.
was like, I didn't realize he did that. It's like
Right.
you start to appreciate more, and I think that's where things kind of get kind of muddy sometimes. Is there's two sides to everything. Just like that coin that you said with Jesus, like that whole story in the Bible, the Pharisees were trying to catch Jesus in a trap. They were trying to catch him doing something
Yes.
wrong. I can't remember the exact biblical principle or law. It was a Jewish law or something, but they were trying to catch him in that, and that's what they were trying to do.
Right.
So that's a little different. But I think in all these things, there's always like, I always say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And even like Mussolini, while who was a horrible person, did a lot of bad things, killed a lot of people, which I don't agree with. There were some things that he actually did that were probably valuable for the country of Italy, like bringing it together as a country. Is one of the things I didn't know was Italy's a younger country than the U.S. They were not
Mhm.
officially a country until 1861. It was Mussolini who really kind of drove some of that.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, and I didn't know that. Italy was in the top, closer to more of Europe. The middle was owned by the Pope, and the bottom was owned by Spain. And Mussolini took over the bottom, defeated Spain, took that, and then basically went to the Pope and asked the Pope to give it up, wouldn't give it up, so he fought against the Pope and won. And basically, the Pope ended up with the Vatican, and that's all they have. And it's a separate country. We went there too. But talking about Christian nationalism, seeing they were going there, like the papacy, the Pope. that was a Christian nationalist country. If you really look at like what they believed, the Pope was the head of the church, but he was also the head of the government. And the expectation is that you are Christian, you are Catholic. Like, what a better definition of like before our current day and era, because it started in what, 400, 300 something AD to 1800 AD.
Right.
The,
Right.
and the Pope, or yeah, it's 1800 something, when Mussolini took over. But yeah, I mean, the papacy, that's Christian nationalism. The Pope was the king and owner and ruler, and the expectation was you were going to be Christian. And so that was, while it's not 100%, it's very much aligned to the definition, I would say, of Christian nationalism.
Right. Right. Well, and two, and then we think about Christianity, and and we're both Christian, but you know, and a lot of times we sort of attribute to that, especially here in America, that we are a Christian nation and that we are founded on Christian principles. But mm, and I'm taking this from my daughter, who was a history major. The founding people that came over actually were not all Christian. They were more agnostic.
Yeah.
The reason they wanted to come here was because so they could have the freedom of religion to have whatever form of religion or religious beliefs they wanted to have here, away from, really honestly, the forced religion that was happening with Roman Catholicism overseas,
Which
which
is
we
the
know.
same as it's like the same as the Pope in Italy, right? I mean, it's that
Correct,
forced,
correct,
you're forced into this. And that's kind of where America
right,
came out of was,
correct. Yeah, and I think it was somewhere like you said. I think 380, 400. The Edict of Thessalonica, I think, it came out of the Nicene Creed. The Nicene Christianity is where it outlawed paganism, is when it happened, and so that's where that if you were any other form of other than Christianity, it was actually illegal. It was outlawed. It
yeah,
was around 380, 400, somewhere in that area. So, and so our founding fathers were like, well, we want to get out of this so that we can do or believe any other thing that we want to do. And so that's what established what we have today. But what's happening today is that in essence they're trying to resurrect basically what's happened from what we left, and forced, nothing wrong with Christianity, but forced Christianity onto people today, when this country was built upon the freedom of.
yeah, yeah. No, I think if you read in the Constitution, I don't remember which number, but that was part of it, right? The Declaration of
Right.
Independence, Constitution, freedom to religion. I do think there's so much history here. I've done some of this research myself, and there's like so we had our
First
own
Amendment.
declaration. Yeah,
First Amendment.
yeah. See, you're there.
See? There
So
you
while
go.
we had the First Amendment, and that was for the country, each colony had its own constitution as well.
Right.
And from my research, it's like 11, maybe 9 of the 13 actually had a requirement that you had to be a Protestant Christian. So it's interesting how like the country, while they didn't force the belief, the different colonies actually had some
Forced it.
forcing. So
Right.
I think, and I'll speak for myself, and I don't want to offend anybody because this is obviously a sensitive subject, but I do feel like, and I think we mentioned this in a previous podcast, like godly truths live beyond the Bible, right? Like godly truths are everywhere. I mean, God
Right.
is God is the God of the universe, and His truth you can find throughout all of time. We talk about the
Correct.
golden rule, which is clear in the Bible, but if you read other faiths out there, the golden rule lives and exists in those as well.
Right.
I think that our nation had godly truths that you could see everywhere built into these amendments and constitutions and all these declarations, and these things are bigger than religion, in my opinion.
Right.
but I do feel
Right.
like there is a foundation of those godly truths, which I would say are Christian truths and Christian values.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like, I just watched, Karen and I just watched a movie on Netflix, The Most Hated Woman in the World. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Mm-mm.
It's a great movie, doc kind of slash documentary. Not really, but it's made for TV kind of thing. And she was the national atheist person, started the National Atheist Society or whatever that is.
Yeah.
She's the one that got prayer removed from schools.
Okay.
Went to Supreme. She was the well, she's the one that went to the Supreme Court and got prayer removed from schools because her fight was is that not everybody believe because they were doing the Lord's Prayer in schools at one point in our society.
Yeah.
And her fight was is that, her and her son were atheists and they shouldn't be forced to do the Lord's Prayer because they do not believe in that.
Mm.
And not everybody should be forced to do the Lord's Prayer in school. And I mean, she was hated, of course. She went to Supreme Court and
Yeah.
she won it, and that was removed from the schools. And even though I'm a Christian, there's a piece of me that's like, well, she's right because what about Jewish or Muslim or any other faiths that may be in school? We can't force these other traditions and faiths that may be in the school to do a Christian practice in the school. She was right in that.
Yeah. 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 No, I think it goes back to something you said at the very beginning, and that is church and state. That's a subject that people will debate forever in theory. Like, should there
I
be
agree.
separation of church and state, or should it be combined? And I think going back to, we're talking about England, we're talking about Italy, like there was no separation. Church was the state. Like that's what
Right.
America was founded on, was trying to split those things. So I think but people, like you said, I think you said it just a minute ago, like, but people are trying to kind of force that to come back together. And I think
Right.
it just goes to what is that. And again, going back to, like, even Muslim, there's good and bads to both sides. Maybe there is some value in
Right.
having church in the state, in some form or facet, but there's also some negatives. So I'll give you
Right.
another learning from Italy that fascinated me. And so we're touring Rome, Colosseum, and the Roman Forum. So the Roman Forum is like where the emperor lived, and like these arches that they would walk through, and after the battles in the Colosseum and things like that. And so when Mussolini took over after the Pope, he went into Rome and he's like, where's the ancient city? I see the Colosseum, but where's the Roman Forum? Where's all these old buildings? And the people
Mhm.
said, oh, it's underground. And what we learned is that when Christianity became the dominant religion in Rome, people saw all these altars that were built towards other gods, and they started like
Mm.
demolishing them and breaking them and cutting the heads off of
Mm.
different gods, and like vandalizing them. And I get it, because it's like, this is against our faith. I'm not going to believe in the god of Apollo or Zeus or whatever, right? So I'm going to you know destruct those things. But they started just like literally like getting rid of history, and eliminating it. And so the Roman Forum, you could see it now. This is one of the goods I learned about Mussolini, was like, well, while he didn't necessarily believe in those, he's like, that's history that shouldn't have been lost. And so he charged the country to basically excavate and pull. It's 40 feet underground. And so they started excavating and finding like all these Roman ruins that were still there in the city
Mm.
that you can go see now. But that wouldn't have been there if Mussolini hadn't kind of charged the people to do it. But it's interesting because,
Mm.
like, we think of Christianity as this great thing, but yet they were literally like eradicating. Like, we couldn't potentially, if they had it their way. Actually, this is partially true. They started taking the Colosseum apart. They turned it into a
Mm.
church. If you don't know that, they put like a cross
I
in
know that.
there, and they made it actually into a church. But they actually started tearing it apart. So we have all these ideals about Michelangelo, who is this great artist and did all this sculptures and stuff. But they literally would
Right.
go to like the Colosseum, and he would cherry pick, like, I want that column because it's a 40-foot long piece of marble that I can carve into this beautiful sculpture. And it's like you're taking apart like history and all these amazing things that existed in the Roman culture so that you can go craft. I mean, they're literally just like pillaging from history, which I don't
Mhm.
agree with, because I'm
Right.
very much believer of the quote that like, if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it, you know? And there were
Right.
so many things that we lost, like just intelligence in, I mean, they even say today, like Roman concrete heals itself. I mean, they
Mhm.
made concrete. I mean, our roads, we have potholes. The concrete that the Romans
Right.
figured out would actually like remend itself when it cracked. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
there's all these things that we lost that it's like because of our uh Christian, I would pious, I guess is the right word. I mean,
Hmm.
um, it's just like it's interesting. It's like here we are trying to, and I don't know. I don't agree with that. I mean, like I
Right.
don't get me wrong, we shouldn't worship those gods. I mean, if definitely if you're Christian and that's
Right. 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 Right.
no other gods before me, commandment number two, right? So I get it, but it still
Right.
doesn't mean you shouldn't like respect the history. I mean, it'd be like if we went to Egypt and like tore all like just like got a bulldozer and just tore up all the pyramids. I mean, what's the
Right.
difference?
Exactly.
You know,
Right. Right.
you know.
Right. But
So
again, but back to kind of our Christian nationalism today. Do we see a a difference today on? I mean, today's Christian nationalism has almost gotten violent and belligerent because, I, to me, what I'm seeing is almost kind of this undertone today of Christian nationalism. It's that it can only be that the Christian faith, this Christian nationalism faith, is only legitimate if it overrules or rules over any other faith completely. That all other faiths are not legitimate unless it's Christianity. Period. And it's almost to the point of disrespectful
yeah,
is where it's at.
yeah,
Um, which is hard, and it's like you try to have conversations, and it gets almost belligerent.
yeah. Well, because I think we come from I unfortunately social media and everything is so bad because there's these echo chambers, right? If you're
Right.
right, you're in this echo chamber of right, and that's all you're going to hear, and you're going to hear the other side is bad. And if you're in the echo chamber of left, you're going to hear is the left side, and you're going to hear the right side's bad. Like, and kind of going back to the story of Mussolini, like they're both bad. You know, there's some good
Right.
over here, there's some good over here, there's some bad over here, there's some bad over here. It's like how do we find the truth? And I believe truth is held in tension. And Christ's word says he wants his church to be one. So if we're going to be one, we've got to find a common ground and come together. So I feel
Right.
like these echo chambers. Where I'm getting at is I agree with you. I think there's this echo chamber of nationalism, Christian nationalism, that is, supersede everybody else, everything else. Like we are better than everybody. And if you
Mhm.
truly follow the words of Christ, he said the last shall be first. You know, so it's like Christ, my impression is like he wants you to, wash your brother's feet, not act in a place
Mhm.
of authority, but to wash your brother's feet. So which one is
Right.
it? You know? So, and Christian nationalism has, I think there is a stigma out there that it has kind of this impression of like, we're the best, we're the baddest, we're bigger, we're better, get, as one of my friends in high school had on his license plate, get right or get left, you know? Uh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, again, to me, I think it goes completely against the teachings of Christ. Absolutely. It really, and I have no problem with people being separate. Again, we talked about this briefly. You separate the two terms. I have no problem with people being nationalist or, being patriotic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
know, absolutely, I'm okay with, I'm American. I'll stand up and, we do the pledge. I'll stand up and, put my hand on my heart and, when they do the national anthem, that kind of stuff. I have absolutely no problem with that. But I also believe that there's a place for it and I honor my veterans and stuff like that. But merging those two in the church, I struggle with that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because again, if we don't know history, I think we're doomed to repeat it. Um, I, I have not fully researched this, but I read an article. Again, I need to do some validation that we did not televise the national anthem before NFL games until like up till early 1990s. It was not
Hmm.
televised. And it was something where we wanted to, there was a decline in recruits going into the military. You realize if you look at our budget as a country, we spend over
Hmm.
$1 billion in marketing. So marketing is
Hmm.
like influencers on TV, it's commercials, it's all that, pamphlets. What marketing is like, it's a big funnel, right? We pay, I think we spend $1 billion every year on marketing for the military. And I am an avid supporter. I wish I would have. My son very likely
Right.
will. 100% on board. I really wish our mom said no. She convinced me not to do it. Our grandfather did, you know.
Yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
I would have. I totally wish I would have. And I do it today. You know, if something really bad happened and we're all fighting for our lives, guess what? I'm joining in the fight, right? But supposedly there was money that was in our budget to do marketing,
Right.
and there was money paid to the NFL to start advertising the national anthem at the beginning of the game because they were trying to increase the recruits. Now, again, I need to go double check sources, things like that. But if there is even a hint of truth there, I mean,
Mm.
it's just feeding the mechanism, right? It's feeding
Yeah.
it. So, and I would love to be able to go back and watch, the 1985, Super Bowl or something of that nature. I mean, you were older than I was, at that time. I don't know if you even remember, but I'm just curious, like, is that really true?
Yeah. See, I don't
But
remember.
now if you
I
look
really
at it,
don't know.
it's yeah. But now if you look at it, I mean, it's like it's a big deal. I mean, every
Right.
football game, you're going to see it. It's the national anthem.
I know.
And
He always was. Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
And
and
the one
I'm
thing
and
you
I'm
don't.
and I'm pro. I mean, I look every time I hear the national anthem, I honestly I tear up. I do because I love it. And with Arden being in
Hmm.
the Boy Scouts, we do the Pledge of
Hmm.
Allegiance every Monday. Man, I mean, I feel it. I get emotional because I am very much a nationalist. I believe in this country. I love this country. I love where I live. But I do think there's still some things that we have wrong. I don't just,
Right.
there's some things we don't do right. Let's just leave it at that. So, um,
Right.
but yeah,
Well.
that coming
I,
together is kind of, it's like, where's that stemming from? Where's it coming from?
right. Right. Well, and I read a few things on this, and one of the things, and I was going to read it to you. It says, um, at its core, the idea talking about Christian nationalism uh, threatens the principle of the separation of church and state and undermines the establishment clause of the First Amendment. It also leads to discrimination and, at times, violence against religious minorities and the non religious. Christian nationalism is also contributing to ideology in the religious rights, misuse of religious liberty as a rationale for cultivating laws and regulations aimed at protecting pluralistic democracies such as non discrimination protections for LGBTQI plus people, women, and religious minorities. These issues will only draw more attention in the years ahead.
Mm. I mean, I can't say I disagree with that. Um, I mean, I do think, I mean, again, go back to the past, the England, Italy, Pope, papacy, if the church is the head of the state, which ultimately is Christian nationalism, then anything beyond that Christianity is wrong and will
Correct.
therefore be punished in some form or fact. Now, and then the question would go, okay, well, then what kind of Christianity, right? Because as
Right.
we know, there's so many different sections of Christianity in our country. Every
Correct.
Protestant church is different. They all believe different things. They all value different things. So is it now that everybody who's been baptized as a baby is no longer acceptable because they weren't by full immersion? Now all those people are out. We're going to kick them out of the country. We're going to, you know,
Right.
whatever. penalize
right.
them because they weren't
And
done. Yeah.
well, and then we'll also, again, we look at certain sections of scripture where it talks about how, the authorities and how we are to be a part of the state. And it's like, and Paul talked about this, but is that section of scripture actually talking about how we are integrated or are part nationalist, and oversee part of the state, or is it Paul talking in reference to something else? It's again, every church, every denomination or tradition is going to decipher scripture differently and how they're partaking in it. Historically, how they look at scripture and define it. And unfortunately, people will also pick and choose and take out of context. And that's it, it happens.
Yep. It
And
does.
and and that's and that's a lot of our Christian nationalism issue is that one will look at this way, other will look at it this way, and it's like, no, that's not what it means. No, this is what it means. And we
Yep.
get into a squabble over particulars
In my opinion, we
stuff.
do. Yeah, squabble over petty stuff. I've been dealing with it since I was in high school. When
It's
when you're, no offense to my Baptist friends, because I, still have quite a few of them, but in
yeah,
high
I got
school,
tons of them.
my Baptist friends would pull out a Bible and beat people with it, legitimately.
Yeah,
Pulling out a Bible at school and beating people over the head with it because of, Church of Christ. We had a local Church of Christ there in Hendersonville, and Church of Christ was New Testament only. So New Testament only, there are no music instruments in the New Testament until Revelation when Christ comes back. So guess what? They didn't have music. They sang everything a cappella. No piano, no organ, no guitar, no nothing. And that
hmm
was their belief because they were a New Testament only church. And so it's
make
like,
a
okay, they
joyful
did.
noise, people.
They did. And we sang there a
It
cappella.
may
It
be
was
off
great.
key, but it's a joyful noise.
It was great, but again, like, okay, so that's so are we going to throw them out too because their beliefs are a little bit different than ours? They still believe
No, because
Jesus.
Church of Christ think they're the only ones going.
That's true. They did, and my Baptist friends said, you're not going unless you're a baptized Baptist. So,
This is true. So
again,
how does that work out for?
yeah. So how does
So I always
that,
tell people, so how does it
yeah,
work
go
out
ahead.
for the person who died on the cross and Jesus said, "I will see you in my paradise today."
Exactly. He
Wait,
didn't get
did it
baptized.
did it rain all of a sudden in between his death? And I mean, did that
Yeah.
work? Did Jesus
Yeah.
come off the cross and
Yeah.
go,
I know.
hold on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
baptize him real quick. Hold on,
Yeah.
give me 2 seconds. Then you can put
But
me back on the cross.
but think about it that way. Think about the division in our churches here in America. Like in Rome, going back to Rome, like we had a tour guide, and this tour guide said like there's 900 churches in Rome. In Rome alone. So, I mean, southeast, there's four on every corner. It's like Starbucks in Seattle, right? Like there's one on every corner. Like downtown Nashville, it's like every corner in this little, there's a different church. Oh, there's Baptist, Methodist, Church of Christ, whatever, right? Like you want to create
Roman
more
Church one, Roman Church the
in
second,
church too.
Roman Church the
But
third.
if you want to create more division in our country, throw Christianity into it. We're already divided as is. Like, how many
Mhm.
different versions of the church do we have in this country? Right now, we're fighting between the left and the right, and then there's some other smaller parties out there, but it's primarily left or right, and then there's a middle moderate. Um, you know, um, if we throw Christianity in that, there's no more just left and right. Now it's like a star. Or I don't even know what kind of shape it will be because there's going to be a variety of you know,
It's a
it's
pentagram.
but
It's a pentagram.
yeah. What were those things that you used to do as a kid where you put a pin, it was that plat, and you like spin it and it made it into like all these like diamond shaped,
Oh,
yeah,
I
points.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
What was that?
yeah,
Oh yeah, what was that thing? I remember.
yeah.
I
That's what
remember.
it's going to be
I know.
because it's going to be like, oh, you're sect one, you're sect two, you're sect three. You're nationalist one, nationalist two, nationalist three.
Yeah,
That's what it's going to be.
it is. It is.
Yeah. So it's just,
I think
yeah.
we'll get all the churches out. We're going to play lawn darts, and whoever makes it out of lawn darts wins.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, these are all things that we have serious problems in our country that need to be solved. And I think the last thing that we need to do to solve them is to force a Christian faith that we can't even align on one on top of that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We
because we
can't
can't.
even listen to we can't even listen to the basic things of Jesus, and that's just the basic things that Jesus talked about.
Yeah, yeah,
Love
we
your
fight over.
neighbor, love your
And now,
neighbor, and love God. I mean, those two basic tenets. I mean, just
yeah,
two things.
when I think that's
Come
our
on.
honestly, I think that's part of our problem, and I think that, and this is just my personal like theory, spitballing ideas here. Is I think that probably some of the reason for the Christian nationalist movement is, and I'll take it to my work scenario. Like I was talking to somebody a couple years ago, a retailer, where retailers seeing like this high influx of shrink, so theft, right?
Hmm.
Like I grew up, if I take in a candy bar, our dad would have forced us to go back in, and then we're going to say, "Or sorry, we're going to
Yeah.
pay for it." Yeah. So now, like shrink is high. Now the question is why is shrink high? Was it because of
Right.
poverty? Is it because of the price of things? Like you could, at the end of the day, I was having this conversation, and we're trying to help this retailer like fix their shrink problem, right? Do you get a security card or whatever? And in my mind, it was so hard. I finally it came out actually. I was like, guys, the sad part about this is it's a moral issue. It's a moral issue. And this is just my theory, and I might upset some people, but I think because of the decline of the Christian church, I think the morality of this nation has gotten less. We're not as
Mm-hmm.
morally strong as we used to be. And so,
Right.
because of that, I think a lot of people feel that. And that's why there is this kind of tendency to go back to Christianity and maybe even as far as Christian nationalism is because they recognize there's a drop in morality, and the people who are Christian recognize that they do have a moral call, purpose, value, and so there's
Yeah.
this influx of like we need some morality here, and and we know that Christianity has a moral component, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's just a theory, but it's like, but that's part of like my theory because like
No, I'm right there
there is
with you.
a
But
moral issue.
I got yeah, but I got a tangent. But where have we also seen we have seen an increase of moral issues within the church.
Mm, true.
So people are going, so why would I go to the church anyway when
Right.
was it last week there was that pastor in was it Texas or something like that that they caught in I guess he was having integrity
Sexist.
issues, sexual issues,
No.
with I don't know if it was other females or if it was young ones. One of the two. Again, mega church, and again, if people are getting news after news, I don't know, every week, there's a moral issue in the church already, and then so how are people going to receive that if they can't even get it in the church either?
Yeah. Yeah. No. And um the church has had issues for a long time with that. I mean, there's been. I mean, you think about the Catholic Church and everything that happened with them. I was actually
Go
something.
before that. Go before
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Look at
true.
our Pharisees. I mean, Jesus stood in front of them and said, "You brood of vipers, your whitewashed tombs, and
Yep.
you're dirty on the inside." They were moral issues even back then.
Well, I mean, I think, and I did. I don't preach anymore, but this is a story that I researched back
You
when I
should.
was pre. Yeah,
You,
I should. I
you
should.
should.
I know. I need to go back. Um, but the story of the woman that they were going to stone for adultery. All right, so they were going
Right.
to stone her. Everybody knows this story, and Jesus gets
Yep.
there and writes something in the sand.
Right.
The backstory, which the scriptures don't actually elaborate to, but if you look at the history, there was a celebration, and I forget what like religious festival. There is a religious festival that at that time that was right
Mhm.
before that instance with Jesus and the woman. And
Mhm.
the religious festival was all about they came together and they would actually almost like a Woodstock, they would all camp out. They would camp
Mhm.
out and tent out, and people would drink wine and people would get drunk, and people would commit a lot of adultery going into different people's tents and things like that. And
Hmm.
the history that I read is the Pharisees would partake. So what if Jesus was writing, what did you do last night? Like literally in the sand, like, remember tent number 2 that you walked into that you did whatever in what, it's like, but
Yeah,
you know,
we
yeah,
don't know.
so, we don't
We
know,
don't know.
but it all that stuff. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think that's part of it is that the moral, there is a issue in the church. And unfortunately, it's just like I said on social media earlier, like those things get so loud, right? Like if the news can find a clickbait item that's going to get everybody
Hmm.
psyched up, they're going to not
Hmm.
saying it shouldn't, not saying that these things shouldn't be like public and known and all that. Um, but our news just that we're gossip hungry people. Like we love the gory details. We want to know. We want to know like what did he do with those ladies exactly, and how many. And
Right.
unfortunately, I think that's part of our fallen nature is we want to know all those horrible details. Um,
I
but
know. I know.
but I do feel it's just a theory. I do feel like there's this, and again, because I see it in the shrink theft, and just the love of your neighbor is not there. You know,
And
you
that's
know,
what it goes back to.
100%. Like that is the thing that I wrestle with. What happened to I could walk to my neighbor and knocked on their door and asked for a cup of sugar because I was baking a cake, and then I baked two and brought them one, right? Like, what
Hmm.
happened to that kind of community? We don't have that anymore. Now, is that because we're less faithful or less Christian or less? I mean, if you study the other religions, Muslim, Jewish, they're all the same. They have the same kind of concept. Love your neighbor. Like they all have it. Again, this is a godly truth that it
Correct.
goes beyond
Correct.
just Christianity, right? So,
Right.
and actually in the Muslim faith, Muslim and Jewish, actually, it's even more rigorous as far as loving your neighbor because they're very law driven. And if you don't do it, you're getting in trouble. So,
So
uh,
Buddhist and Hindu also.
yeah.
Buddhist
So,
and Hindu, you have to care
yes.
and be kind to those around you.
Yes, to the less
So
than, to the homeless,
yeah,
all that.
to the less than the homeless. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're required. Or like
Mother
the
Teresa. I
Jewish
mean, think about
Mother Teresa. But
Mother
like
Teresa.
Jewish, yeah, one of the Levitical laws is when you harvest like I'm a farmer and I have a field of crop. I am required to
You
leave
leave.
the percentage along the road
Yep.
there. Well, why? So that when the homeless
So
are
they can
walking
glean.
by, they can grab food. And that's a
Yep.
Jewish
Exactly.
principle. But we
Yeah.
consume all of it. You know, we do.
And half the time, and a lot of times, we don't even use it all. We waste it.
Hmm.
The amount of food we waste in America of just food waste
Yeah. Yeah.
is crazy.
I mean, we have 8 billion people in this world and we make enough food for like 20 and a lot of it just gets thrown away and we're not
Just throw it
taking it
away.
to, yeah. So, but going back to all that, I just do, but I do feel like maybe that's one of the reasons for this rise in Christian nationalism is because there's this loss of something, loss of morality. I think that's my theory is there's
Hmm.
this loss of values, morality,
Hmm.
but also I think there probably is a little bit of scarcity mindset or like, it used to be that everybody in my neighborhood looked like me, right? And I think there's a little bit of
Hmm.
like there's a fear base associated to the Christian nationalism because it's like I lost something. I lost my
Yeah.
childhood. I lost
Yeah.
the safety that I had, sending my kids out to play until the lights came on. I lost. So there's a
Right.
fear. I think there's multiple ways to look at this, but those are kind of two that come to mind is like one, there is a morality issue that I think we have as a country that needs to be considered and addressed. There's
Right.
also a fear base associated to which unfortunately it's attached to a lot of the social kind of conversation, LGBTQ, the immigration, all these things. And there's people here that are not as they're seeing bad things happen and they're connecting it to those things. And so
Hmm.
then it's also driving them to be, all right, let's go back to the basics or
Right.
ground zero or whatever the case may be.
Correct. Well, and for me, I think also too is and this is why, like I think my small group this week we're going to talk about this is the three basic um, beliefs like from John Wesley: do no harm, do good, stay in love with God,
Yeah.
kind of things that and really that it can be a moral issue, but it also is a very Christ thing. It's how do I look at people around me and how do I stop doing harm in people's lives, uh, words, actions, uh,
Yeah.
thoughts, whatever thing. And then how do I do good? How can I do the best I can for people that are around me? And again, that is loving neighbor. How do I
Yeah.
love my neighbor better than myself? I mean, how do I live a life like Christ and love my neighbor better than I love myself sometimes? And
Yeah.
and that's tough. Because I think we become so self-driven. Like, how do I take care of? It's me. It's all about me instead of how do I do unto others.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think about like Jesus. I mean, when Jesus walked this earth, he there was no Christianity. It didn't exist. You know, it didn't exist for hundreds of years after he passed away. Technically, actually, 300 some odd years, really. When
no.
the
Well, the
CC
term
and
was around. Well, Christian came around but it was a derogatory term.
yeah. Well, if you look at Acts, I think it's like they called them people of the way, and it's in all
Way.
caps actually. The way, right? So
Mhm.
but like Christian didn't exist. So when Jesus was looking across the multitude of people, it's not like he was cherry picking, like, well, I only want to work with those people because they're Christian. Like he looked at everybody. And in the
Mhm.
town, I mean, in Jerusalem, sure, Jewish was a dominant religion, but you had so many Greeks there. You had all these Persians and you had all these other kind of nationalities and beliefs and religions and things, and he just
Right.
saw them as all his people and all of them
Right.
are your neighbor, right? So it's like
Right.
why have we gotten so segmented, um to focus on, like this is the only, not saying, I have my beliefs in Christianity and and afterlife and everything else there, but like that's
Right.
not the subject. But i
Right.
i
But
do
Christian
I
nationalism.
yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
But what Christian nationalism does is forces it
Yes.
forces Christianity onto people, and I think what we've got to get better at is listening.
Hmm.
It is listening because there are so many other people who, again, may not believe like we do, and it's okay to be okay with people who may not believe like we do. The Muslim, the Hindu, the Buddhist, the whatever. Again, you and I are Christian, and I'm okay with someone not being Christian. Would I like them to be Christian? Yeah, sure, but they may not.
Well,
But
and
having a listening, go ahead, but having a listening ear to be able to listen to someone and hear their story and why they're that way and why they believe that way, I love it.
yeah.
I love to hear their story.
I love, well, and I think that's just because of where we're the deconstructionists, as you said earlier. Like I like learning. Ted Lasso didn't say it, but it's like literally my favorite quote: "Be curious, not judgmental." Right? And it's
Yeah,
like be
yeah,
curious. And what I I in the work that I do, like we have what's called change management, where it's like
mhm,
we're we're changing a manufacturing plant and we're going from making pencils to pens, and it's different, and we have to change the team that's making pencils to making pens, and there's a change process and we have to convince them to do this change, right? So putting in software, you got to make change, right?
yeah,
So change management
yeah,
is a common business term that people use. Well, I
right,
relate it to faith all the time. Like you can take a horse to water, you can't force a drink. Like, do you really think beating somebody over the head with a Bible and saying they have to believe a certain thing is going to convince them to follow Christianity? No, it's not. I mean,
right,
I fully believe it is your actions, it is your character, it's who you are when nobody's looking, it's your integrity. Those are the things that people will start to question and wonder, like, why are you so nice? that will lead you
Yes.
to an opportunity to open a door to say, well, because I got God in my life, I got Jesus right here,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
but I agree with you. My concern is that it's the nationalism is so pious. I feel like that's the wrong word, but it's like so like pressed down. You can't force people. That's not what Christ. Well, this is at the end of the day. That's not what Christ wanted. Christ didn't want people to be forced into believing Him. He wanted
Right.
people to come, not be forced.
Right.
you know
Right.
and if that's the case, or what's different than the Nazi Jews force the Nazis forcing the Jews into a train, right? Like, you're less than, you don't believe what we believe, and we're going to force you into this train. So it's like,
Exactly.
what's
Exactly.
what's the difference? I mean, so it's
I got Chewie behind me. Well, it's no different than the Empire and Darth Vader. Okay.
yeah,
It's the same. It's the same. I mean, really, honestly,
yeah,
that's probably where the concept came from.
yeah,
So
true. But again, I don't want to throw the baby out of the bathwater. This nation has biblical principles, Christian principles that are built into the Constitution, built into the amendments. And honestly, we could probably say maybe not everybody who came over from England was Christian, like you said. There's probably a lot of agnostics, maybe a few atheists in there too, some pagans, as they would say. But I
yeah,
would say probably the majority were Christian based, and so there are some values. I mean, I believe they're the
yes,
highest values. That's
right.
my belief, but I don't necessarily think that our nation needs to be ran. I mean, I guess that is counter. Like, we want our nation running on the best values,
Yeah,
but but uh, but forcing
morals.
it,
We
morals.
need better. We morals. All right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
And I think that's definitely what we need is morals. It's better morals as a nation. So
yeah.
yeah,
Agreed.
yeah,
Love your neighbor more.
yeah.
I mean,
Love your neighbor more. I think that's what it comes down to.
yeah. I mean, and that's what Christ called us to do, was to love your neighbor, to love your neighbor more than yourself, or like yourself, right? But there was also some. I'm losing the addresses in the scriptures at the moment, but there was some things like, see them as greater than you, right? There was a little bit of like, see them
It's a
higher.
Philippians. I think it's a Philippians in it.
Yeah. So,
It talks about Christ who considered himself less
less than.
and still considered and went to the cross. Yeah, that's a
And the
Philippians.
greatest of ours would, the greatest of you would be the servants, right? Like, you're going to
Mhm.
serve. And Christ even showed us the fact that he washed Judas's feet. Here's the guy that's going to betray me, you know, and he washed his feet anyways, right? So, and he knew what was going to happen.
And he knew it was going
If
to
if
happen.
I knew the guy that was going to rat me out, do you think I'd really feel inclined to wash his feet? No, I wouldn't. I'd wash everybody else's
But you,
feet and then come to Judas and be
but
like,
you ain't
sorry, bud,
Jesus, though, are you?
I ain't Jesus. Um, yeah, I still have people in this world that I would love to give a good soccer punch to, a sucker punch to.
How about
There's
throat
still a few.
punch?
Cool. Yeah, yeah. What's the Adam Sandler movie? What's the Adam Sandler movie where he's got the people he's trying to like knock off from high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Adam Sandler calls him and
Oh,
apologizes, and he's
and
like,
he's like, is that Happy Gilmore? I don't know. I don't think it's Happy Gilmore, but
was it Happy Gilmore, or is that Billy Madison?
it might be one of them. Yeah, probably Billy
I
Madison,
can't
because he
remember.
was. Yeah, he's like, knocks his name off the list.
He goes, and
Yeah.
I know it was Billy Madison because remember he goes to the school to do the quiz thing, and he's up in the guy's up in the balcony with a gun, and he goes, man, I'm glad I called that guy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's funny, but I mean, it's like, but yeah, love, more than, or like, golden rule, like I said, is a godly truth, but the platinum rule is like, that's even a higher, because the platinum rule means I'm taking, your values, your beliefs, what you like into consideration, you know.
Right. Well,
Um,
and I think too, another one is a good to sort of inherit too is we need to work on empathy for others too.
100%.
Yeah. So
100%. Yeah. It's a tough subject. Trust me. And I am curious, kind of your perspective on this, because being in the church from a full time gig
Yeah.
perspective. I mean, are
So
you?
yeah. Now
I, I mean,
we stay
you.
away from politics. I stay away from politics completely. I really do.
But
100%.
you got
Now I
one
will like
church, but
we
you're part of a denomination too that's probably has some kind of influence in there too, right?
yeah, but we 100% stay away from politics. Now we'll do like at the physical church. We'll do. We'll celebrate veterans, like for Veterans Day, and we'll celebrate, Memorial Day. We'll do kind of highlight, those kind of things. But we will not support candidates. We will not talk. We may talk about things,
Yeah, that
certain
are on
things,
ballots. Yeah, voting for, but
mm,
yeah.
but not candidates or anything like that. Nothing.
And is that the
We
denominate? I know that's your church, but the denomination is the same way.
denomination. We try to stay as a denomination. They try to stay very moderate because we're reaching both.
Yeah,
So you try to stay very moderate. So
because I feel like Pastor Adam has like called out like, oh, here's this politician in our church or something like that. I feel like he's given recognition to people,
Mhm. I'm sure he
in the
has. Well, I mean,
in the meg
here
the
the
mega
recent.
church.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
well, here, I guess the current administration has allowed that now without the fear of losing your tax exempt status.
Got it.
That was one of the recent things he signed off on, but I'm not going to do it. I'm trying to
Yeah,
reach everybody. So if I'm going to reach everybody, I can't. I'm not going to sign off on anybody. So
yeah. But it goes back to the whole subject. Like, I could see why a church might sponsor, or may, and I wouldn't say Pastor Adams sponsored that individual. He just kind of called him out. But I could
yeah,
see why he would maybe try to influence because maybe it is somebody who leans more towards the values and morals that we need in our country, right? So
yeah, right,
I could see churches doing that, but then that in itself is almost trying to force a Christian nationalism worldview, you
correct.
know.
And I'm not going to do it.
So yeah,
Now I will. When it comes that time for when it comes time for voting time, we will pray. I mean, the one thing we can do is, vote your conscience.
yeah,
You know, pray about before you go to the polling. Go to vote the polls. Pray. Don't just go and don't read everything you need to read. And read about the candidates, but then pray. I would honestly pray before you vote. And a lot of times we
yeah,
just don't pray before we vote.
yeah.
Allow God to discern before you vote.
Yeah, I had
So,
heard from some pastor, and I kind of still use it, but like he says the three C's is when they're looking at a candidate. So first off is character. What's the character of the individual? Do they have a good
mhm,
character? Now I think it's tough because going back to like Mussolini, it's like probably say the character's bad, but he did some good things, right? So, but character,
right.
competence, like do they have the
Mhm.
skill set, the education, the knowledge to do this? And then the third one, being a pastor, he said conviction. So what's their conviction? Like what is their, you know, what is
Right.
their values, beliefs, what is the things that they're going to try to influence them? And I still kind of live by that. I did a funny thing. This was a couple presidencies ago with the whole family. It was like, so we, Sunday night dinner is our night where it's like family dinner, we're at the table. And so I took like a list of like maybe 10 things of like what was not necessarily on the ballot, but the way people believe, like gun reform, right? Good with guns, not good with guns, right? So very basic because Arden was, a lot younger then. But 10 things, and I had my family, and I didn't tell them who the candidates. This was like a presidential election. I didn't tell them
Yeah,
who,
yeah,
but I was like, which one do you agree? And then what was funny was at the end of it, I go, okay, if you believe this, you're more this candidate. If you believe this, you're more that candidate. It was funny because it was a little mixed. It wasn't like
yeah.
100% left or 100% right at all. None of us
Right.
were technically,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
that's why I think the echo chambers come into effect is like, because we're so stuck on left or right, you don't realize that probably 80% of our country is like, it's a bell curve that you learn in school, right? Like 80% of our country is really honestly moderate. There's a 10% over here, there's a 10% over there, but 80%, it's honestly right.
Kind of right in the
You
middle.
favoring
Right. Yeah,
left, favoring right, you know.
yeah,
I
yeah.
always,
I know.
wow. and that
That's what
was,
people say. We're moderate left or moderate right. We're kind of it's
yeah.
depending. So
And I remember even as a kid going into the ballot box with our parents. I remember going with mom for sure. And mom and dad were both with me at least. Like, you vote for the person, you don't vote for the party. Like, that was clearly driven into my head. You vote for the person, not for the party. Now, did they
yeah.
lean one way? Yeah, they did. But I still
Hmm.
remember mom like, okay, we're going this way on this one, or we're going this way on that one. Like, she did both sides. I remember that,
Yeah.
because of certain things that she believed in and the people that she knew, and, and what she felt about those
Right.
individuals. Right. So,
Right.
she definitely did,
Hmm.
I think I recall like Al Gore when he was a senator in Tennessee, and he was a Democratic senator, and yep, like that Al Gore, she was a fan of that. But at the time, I think it was like George W. Bush or something was president, and she, it's like, or senior, whatever,
Yeah.
So it's like, I
One
can't,
of them.
one of them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like she did it, and so that was something that I've taken now into my adulthood and my voting habits. Is like, no, I'm going to look at the character, conviction, or character, competency, and conviction. Like, okay, now it's
Yeah.
hard though because
You
there's
have to.
so much noise that you have to get through, and like
You have to. Yeah. And
I
that's hard.
wish I wish I could have a one-on-one conversation with some of these people. It's like, all right, local senator here in Arizona, like, okay, what do you really believe? Are you as far
Yeah.
that way as you say you are, or are you a little bit more like senator?
Yeah.
And it's a
I
whole
met
system.
one at the at the Ham Fest this past week. I met one, and he's I know which way I know which party he's in, but I know he is like we talked. He says, but he goes, even though I'm this on for this party, he says I'm going to be a senator for everybody.
Yeah,
Because if I'm elected, I'm a senator not just for this party. I'm a senator for everybody. He says so. He is very moderate. He
yeah,
says because I have to be here for everybody who is here,
yeah, yeah,
not just this one party.
yeah. Well,
That
and I think,
I'm not. He's supposed to be coming to my church this Sunday, so
oh, shh, don't talk about
well, he's Methodist.
it. Oh, okay,
He's United Methodist.
okay. Um, but no, but I think you bring a great,
He's a good guy now. I like him now.
yeah. But if you think about that, I mean, left or right, I mean, why do they sign up for left or right? It's because of money. Like, the only way that you're going to get the funds
I
that you
know.
want to get is by going. You have to go extreme
A
left
certain
or
party.
extreme right in order to get the money. That's the only way you're going to get it.
I know.
And
I
and I
know.
and another article that I read, but still probably need to do some footnoting and confirm. But like, I think it was like Ted Nugent. I know it was a Republican senator. Like, before he was in office, and this is like early 2000s, the drive for money, like, typically most candidates would not even consider fundraising until like the last year of their, you know whatever, time, right? So,
Right.
um I think it was Ted Nugent, it was definitely a Republican senator, started a trend where it was like, as soon as they're elected, they're out there campaigning for money. Like, they're honestly, and so there was like this wave of, and his influenced the other Republican party. So there was like a wave of Republicans that started winning because they were actually campaigning earlier for funds. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, wait a second, you have a job that you just got elected to do, that I want you in Congress at DC
You
voting.
mean Ted Cruz,
Maybe Ted Cruz. Maybe it was Ted Cruz.
Texas?
I don't think it was Texas. Anyways, doesn't matter. But it's
Hmm.
like, I
But
put you in office. I voted you in office to go like help move our country forward. But instead of
mhm.
being in office moving our country forward, you're out there asking for money from the very get go. Like, how are
Mhm.
you doing your job
Not asking for money,
and doing this on the side? But supposedly,
you're
like,
making and you're already making six figures, and uh,
yeah. There is a great stock. I don't know if you know this, but I mean, you probably do, but there's a stock that actually follows like certain Republicans, like what they buy and sell, that you can go actually invest into that stock line. It's
Really?
easily like a 12% increase every year. It's better than the S&P 500.
Really?
It's bet. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've got a few dollars in there. Let's just leave it at that. So Pelosi, she's in it. There's a few other people that are in it, but it's like it follows their stock trends, and so it knows when they're buying and selling, and yeah, and it's naturally increased every year. They influence it. So the richer get richer, the poorer get poor. But yeah, but it was interesting. But like that's kind of my thing. Like if you're voted into office, like you should be doing your job,
Working in
not
an
out
office,
there
doing your job.
working in office, not asking for money. So I definitely think there's some things that we need in our reform in our politics. Set term
Mhm.
limits. You know, all that kind of stuff.
I think when the government's closed, and I think the first thing that gets cut is their salary. I think if you haven't cut, just don't pay them. I mean, they make enough money.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
made enough money.
yeah.
Cut their salary until they're back working.
Well, Warren Buffett even said, like, you want to fix the budget. He's like, just have it to where you're not able for reelection if you don't balance the budget. Like, he's
Mhm.
because Warren Buffett's one of the richest, smartest guys from a financial standpoint in the world. And he
Exactly.
said, he's like, I could fix the government right now. He's like, you just set it up where like if you can't balance the budget and not have a deficit, meaning we're not, asking for credit. He's like, you just put everybody up saying, like, if you don't figure this out, then you're not up for reelection. Any business would operate that way. Me in retail,
Yeah.
if I do not deliver the expectations of my job, I'm fired. Right. So it's like,
Yep.
same should apply. Same should apply.
Well, they do that in Australia
Yes.
when they don't meet. They actually fire the government.
Yep. Yeah. If they don't balance the budget. So,
Mhm.
okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, you know, we are the oldest democracy in the world from what I know.
Yes.
But doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. Like other democracies have come since then and have learned from us and have learned where we're good and probably have learned where, okay, they didn't get that right. So let's fix this.
Let's fix this. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I still am a nationalist in that I love my country and I will fight for it till the day I die. And, I will salute and pledge allegiance every Monday at night at Scouts. And, I'll sing the national anthem at every event. But there you go, Boy Scouts. There you go.
I was only a week. I only made it to Weeblos. Sorry.
I thought you made it into Boy Scouts.
Yeah. I was football, basketball, baseball. Took over.
Dad made it pretty far, he said, but he didn't make Eagle. But
Yeah.
anyways, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely for our country, but I definitely feel like we've got big problems, and we need people in office that are going to solve it. And I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know
People
if we.
people with more of this,
Yes,
more
yes,
of this.
more heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree.
More hard.
I would agree.
Yeah.
But
All right, brother.
is that it for our subject today? That was fun. That was a rough subject, but it was fun.
That was good. That's all right. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Or something
All right,
else.
my friend.
Something else I
What's
learned.
that?
I learned this in Rome. Something else I learned in Italy was I did not know confession. So we went into like Saint. So it was
Oh,
cool because you go into
oh.
Saint Peter's Basilica,
How
and
long were
it's
you there?
like
No, no.
yeah, yeah. Um,
How many Hail
well done.
Marys did you have to do?
What was interesting though is like they have evidence of like Peter was crucified on that hillside at
Hmm.
where the basilica sits, and his tomb is below the basilica. There you go. I
That
know.
is
Yes, I know.
That's Saint
Saint Pete.
Peter's.
He did not want to be crucified like Christ, so they flipped the cross upside down. I mean, imagine hanging
He
upside
was not.
down from your feet. Oh, brutal.
He felt he
Um,
was not worthy.
thank you, Nero, who was just a crazy, crazy emperor.
Oh my gosh.
Um, no, he was nuts. He was a nut job,
Hmm.
a serious nut job. Um,
Hmm.
but the hill where the Vatican is where St. Peter's Basilica is, and there was like an arena up there. There's lots of arenas. Not Colosseum's the largest, but there was multiple, and that's where Nero would kill the Christians, and so
Lions. Arr.
Peter was crucified up there, and so that's where he's buried in the tomb. And so it's like the rock, Peter will be the rock of the church. And it's kind of cool because it's literally like Peter's there, part of the foundation of this church, which is pretty cool. But I did not know this, but in confession, so having like a counseling background where like I have to report harm, meaning like if I'm in a
Hmm.
counseling session with you and you're suicidal, I have to report it. Or if you have ill will towards
Hmm.
somebody else where I think you're going to do something, I have to report it. I
Hmm.
did not know
Right.
that in confessions, they don't have to report. Like it's actually against them reporting. They are
Really?
not allowed to report. So, if, for example, somebody's in there doing confession and like, I did this. Oh, and by the way, there's a bomb in the bottom of the church.
I can't say anything.
They can't say a thing. They are held, Catholic priests are held to confession. They are not allowed. Now, hopefully, that priest is telling the person, hey, go say so many Hail Marys, go say this, and then go call the police and tell them where the bomb is and how to like deconstruct it. But what if the guy just
Okay.
runs out or doesn't do it? Right? Like
Hmm.
they're held to a vow of
Wow.
silence in confession, which it makes sense then of all the kind of going back to um, the morality that we were talking about earlier, and like things get lost was
Mhm.
the fact that they can't report it. You know, it's interesting. Again,
That's
just
interesting.
it's interesting. It's just like, yeah, fascinating. I love this stuff.
Very
So,
fascinating.
anyways,
I would not.
leave it
I
that.
would not make a good Catholic priest. Mm-mm.
No, I mean it was interesting being because like in the city, like you see people walking around. I mean, I saw nuns and monks and the white collars, and it's kind of cool just like, oh hey, look at that guy. Yeah, and the churches, I mean, it almost felt to some degree like idolatry, just the number of like the size of Peter's Basilica. I'm not kidding. And look, I feel like it was the size of a football NFL stadium. I mean, it was that big inside. And the
That's
sculptures and the
unreal.
gold, and it's just like it's pretty. Don't get me wrong, it's
Yeah.
pretty. There's a value to the art, but it just
But
goes like, is this the idolatry? Yeah, it's the money,
I'm telling.
you know.
I'm telling you.
And the fact that Michelangelo could go over to the Colosseum and say, "I'm going to make a statue of David," and ooh, that column's about the right size. That's not how it happened, but like literally like a cherry pick from history, these stones
Mm.
and use it at their
Right.
will. That's just
Yeah.
crazy, crazy.
It's crazy. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Send
right.
us off. Yep.
Do we
Good
solve all the
subject.
world's problems?
Yeah.
Do we
My
solve it
brain's
all?
spent. My brain's spinning now. I want to go do some more research. So that's always a good thing.
Excellent. All right, my friends. It was good being with y'all. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, give you peace. Until next time, God bless.
Love you.
See y'all soon.
See.
Love you.